Hello and welcome to Segments with Mark and Amber. Segments is a pop culture podcast affiliated with The Hollywood Reporter where we talk all about all the great superstars of the current glamour glitz time.
Whoa, the current glamour glitz time?
Della Reese, Sam Jackson, and other stars.
Other stars of that caliber.
Like Shia LaBeouf. You may remember him from movies such as Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, or Fury. Or that one thing where he was in front of a green screen and he was yelling. That was more of a YouTube thing. Not the glitz and glamour of Hollywood like we're talking about tonight.
I'm not really sure what to do with your setups, but...
There she goes.
I'm Amber. I'm also with Mark. I'm his wife. And this is episode 19. We're going to talk about The Rock.
The Rock is a superstar. And that's where I was going with that whole bit.
Yeah, and I do think we just need to make it clear. Segments is about a variety of things, and we are not affiliated with The Hollywood Reporter.
Yeah, this is a comedy podcast, and what I've done is begun the podcast with what we in the business call a bit.
Oh, I got it.
So it was all a bit. It was all like just make believe. It was like the land of make believe.
Yeah,
kind of like a Saturday Night Live kind of a situation.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
We got it.
Because Segments is actually a comedy podcast where we talk about a variety of things in different segments. And so we've covered all the main topics that people want to know about, such as potatoes and superheroes and sandwiches
and Christmas
and what we love potentially about the fall. All those things we've covered.
Yes.
And tonight we have something new in store. Amber and I were racking our brains trying to think what else there is to talk about. We thought, should we shut down the podcast?
Oh, man.
We've talked about
We've talked about 18 things.
We've talked about 18 things.
How many more things could there be?
In the world. Yeah. And so then we all of a sudden realized we've not yet talked about Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
Yeah, that was a big oversight on our part.
Huge oversight. Should have been the first podcast.
Maybe we've just been building up our audience all this time to make sure we had enough people to fully appreciate.
That's it.
This podcast.
Yeah, because they love The Rock. People have been clamoring for, hey, when are you going to do an episode on The Rock, everybody's favorite superstar?
Yeah, nothing fits Segments brand like The Rock.
Yeah, so we're going to be doing all sorts of stuff tonight. Amber, we've got a really exciting show in store.
Yes, we're going to start with a short history of Dwayne The Rock Johnson. We are going to have a rockin' quiz, and we're going to play a little What Would You Do?
I'm very excited about the return of the What Would You Do segment.
Yes, last time it had to do with Thor.
And this time, I'm assuming it has to do with rocks.
Yes, it'll mostly be about what would you do if you found a pink crystal with a brownish band around the center. Would you put it in your tumbler? Would you leave it on the ground? Would you drill a hole in it and wear it around your neck?
I would put it in a tumbler, and then I would drink it down right into my tum-tum.
Ooh, that's a different kind of tumbler.
Anyway, so very excited about that. And if you want to talk to us, if you want to tell us how excited you are about hearing this history of The Rock and getting to know him a little bit better, you can talk to us on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram at SegmentsCast, or send us an email at segmentscast@gmail.com.
Yes. So usually at this point we would cover any corrections or apologies that we might have from our previous episode. I can't recall any.
No.
So if anybody did issue a correction or something that we needed to apologize for, then I guess we apologize for not remembering it. But I don't think there were any. I think we were just so spot on with our superhero coverage.
We talked about superheroes, and if there's anything that we know about, it's superheroes.
We definitely know some things about some of the superheroes.
Yeah, we've
There's a lot of
definitely
them.
seen many of those movies one time and have generally vague feelings about many of the superheroes.
You've even read a couple comic books.
I have.
More than a couple, I suppose.
Actually, I do pretty much like those superheroes. And it was a fun conversation, but we did knock it out of the park, had no problems. So, sorry, Aaron, you're going to have to dig a little bit deeper to find something we do wrong tonight as well. But we did get some great feedback. We invited people to take the Marvel superhero quiz that we took on the show last week.
It's like a personality quiz.
Like a personality quiz. Amber, who did I get?
You were Spider-Man, a Spider-Man who hates compliments.
Yeah, I was very disappointed, and I felt like that didn't measure up. But I have completely changed my life and my attitude to trying to form and fit more into that persona that the Marvel quiz gave me. I've been very disappointed by many compliments I've gotten recently, and I've tried to avoid them at all costs. So.
I feel like if you're going to walk on the walls, you should take off your shoes because you're leaving footprints all over the walls as you Spider-Man around the house.
Well, it's not my fault. It's the quiz. So, but Amber, what did you get?
Well, I got Captain America, which I thought I was just going to have to be stuck with. But as we read it, we thought, that's not me. That said something about Captain America being neighborly, and I'm not neighborly. So that was a relief because I didn't want to be Captain America. I took a secondary quiz, a whole different quiz, and got the Beast, which was more accurate, I felt.
Yeah. A lot of times I'll say, that Amber, she's being a real beast.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
So, guys, that was another one of our bits. We were doing another bit there. Amber's not a beast, and I wasn't trying to imply anything else.
I mean, the Beast he's a pretty nice guy,
pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So our feedback last time was to ask our listeners to take the quiz.
Yep, and my friend James Fielding took the quiz, and here he said he got Cyclops. He said, I'm Mark's favorite Cyclops.
Aww.
Like Scott, you are a natural leader. You have the brains and sights for planning, but these may lead to the perception of distance and coldness.
Oh, I don't think of James as distant or cold.
No, he is absolutely not that, but he is very, very smart. And he is a very good leader. He works for the video game company in town and travels all over the world making the video games.
Doing a lot of foreplanning, I can only imagine.
Yes, absolutely. He plans for much for. I don't know where that was going. That didn't work out. But anyway, he's great. And that's awesome. I love that feedback. I think that is great. Let's see if he's compatible with his lovely wife, Callie, who also took the quiz.
Yeah, she would be able to tell us, is James ever distant and cold? But
yeah, could you just put that on Facebook or Twitter? Yeah. Just let us know at SegmentsCast.
Like what % of the time?
Yeah, what do you really feel about James?
Callie went on the other spectrum, not Marvel. She went DC, and she got Green Lantern. Green Lantern's description says, you have the imagination that old rich CEOs would probably pay a lot of money to harness. In fact, there's so much potential in that brain of yours that you could be pretty much anything you want to be. CEO, rocket scientist, an actual rocket. And don't get me started on what you can do with a tub of Lego.
Very interesting. I think that's probably pretty accurate. I know that Callie is an artist. We've seen some of her art on Facebook.
Absolutely. And she's raising very imaginative children.
Absolutely. Lovely little guys.
I think she is compatible with James. He can do the foreplanning, and she can get all that imagination.
Here's the
going.
problem. You mentioned it yourself. James is a Marvel superhero.
Oh.
And somehow in this Marvel superhero quiz, Callie got a DC superhero.
Oh, man.
Which makes me think that maybe they're not compatible.
I mean, we'd never see them on the screen together.
That's true.
What if there's a crossover, a Romeo and Juliet type crossover? I would watch that movie.
The
Cyclops and Green Lantern love story. Well, that's a whole other thing. But the James and Callie love story crossing over the comic book boundaries.
Oh, that's good. Amber, I was afraid that we were going to have to reveal to them that maybe they were not compatible.
Oh, no.
And this would be a rough way to find out.
I think it just makes their love story all the more epic that they found each other.
Yeah.
Despite these insurmountable odds.
Being from different planes of existence. So awesome. They are wonderful. We love you guys.
Yeah,
thanks so
for
much
taking
for
the quiz.
listening. Absolutely. Our great friend of the show. You see, I upgraded her from good friend of the show to great friend.
Oh, and she is.
And she is. Bobby Joe, she took the quiz too, and she got Storm. Now let's see if this meets our understanding of Bobby Joe. Your picture is practically in the dictionary next to discipline. When other people are thinking about having that second cookie, you are on the second mile of your run. You've never pulled an all-nighter because you've never had to. You are cool, calm, and in control because you know that if you weren't, you wouldn't just have 2 cookies, you'd have 200. I didn't read that well, but imagine that there wasn't that space between the 2 and the 100, and I just said 200.
So here's the thing. I do think Bobby Joe's very disciplined, and I think that when she sets her mind to something, she can accomplish whatever that is with no problem. So if she wants to run, she can run. If she wants to have a few cookies, she'll have a few cookies, and she's not going to feel bad about it.
Mm-hmm.
I also think that it says you've never pulled an all-nighter. I think she may have, but it's only because she wanted to, because she's passionate about something, not because she was forced into it, because she slacked off on her other studies.
That doesn't seem like Bobby Joe.
No.
There may be other people that's more like, but not Bobby Joe.
No.
Yeah, and so here's this thing. You wouldn't have just 2 cookies, you'd have 200. So is this kind of implying that there is a burning rage inside of Bobby Joe that if she unleashed it, it would be like a thunderstorm on the prairie? Is that a thing people say?
No. That made it less powerful. I felt like
it's so powerful. It's like a tidal wave in the shore. I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, you're cool, calm, and in control because you know that if you weren't, yeah, I mean that's kind of how this is going with Storm. I like the way that you're using storms too.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly what I'm getting.
I didn't catch that until
So
right now.
is that kind of down in there somewhere? And we've not seen it because she's stayed in control, kind of like Bruce Banner. He's going to stay calm because he doesn't want to turn into the Hulk.
If so, she hides it really well because she just seems like the kind of person who does what she feels she wants to do and just does it. She doesn't let somebody get in her way. I don't feel like there's all this stuff inside of her that she's holding back because she just is who she is and she's proud of it.
Yeah, I agree. And I just think it seems like it might be poking another hole in the validity of this quiz to really accurately, tell people who they are.
Yeah, I don't know how the accuracy is, and I also don't know how many people will be willing to take our quizzes in the future if they think we're going to dissect their personalities for 5 straight minutes. We only did it for Bobby Joe because she's related to us, and we love her.
She loves that kind of thing.
I think she does.
So now let's dissect Kurt. Kurt didn't give us the full script.
No, I wish he would have. We'll just have to make it up.
Yeah, we'll just make it up. So he said that he got Russian spy Black Widow.
Wow.
Is Kurt like Black Widow?
I mean...
Is Kurt Russian?
Probably.
Perhaps. He is a member of a dojo, so he's got some martial arts
skills.
Training.
Yeah.
So he's got that.
He can calm angry people with like a poem about the sun going down.
Mm-hmm. He's very attractive.
He can flirt with people to get them close enough to kill them.
Mm-hmm. Which I'm not sure he's done or not. Well, we would never know.
No, we would never know. That's the thing.
So, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I would say that's probably pretty accurate for Kurt.
Probably.
So.
We had one more here that it's our friend Wendy Dumas. She took it and she got Wonder Woman. Lucky Wendy. It says here that injustices against vulnerable people make you absolutely insane. When you read about horrible atrocities being committed against protesters in another country, it makes your blood absolutely boil, which is why you make it a point to set by example. Set what?
Set.
Just set. An example?
Yeah, you just set
things. It says set by example.
Set. Or maybe it's sit. It could be sit.
Wonder Woman doesn't sit.
She would not, no.
I think it's set an example.
Yeah, I think
which is
so
why
too.
you make it a point to set an example, priding yourself on being ahead of the curve on social issues.
I'd say that's accurate.
That's pretty cool.
Very good. Well done. Thanks, guys, for taking the quiz. Thanks for everybody
and
who left
Wendy
feedback.
drives an invisible jet.
Oh, my goodness. You're right.
They really nailed it for her. That's great.
Oh, good job. Amber, I'd say if we haven't lost all of our listeners at this point, let's just keep pressing on into the bulk, the meat of our show.
Oh, I think you can say bulk when we're talking about The Rock. There's a lot of bulk to be had.
Segment 1, a short history of The Rock. All right, Amber. I just wanted to begin here giving us just kind of the tableau, if you will, of who this guy is. Who is Dwayne Johnson, who we know affectionately as The Rock?
Yeah, I mean, I really don't know anything about his early days whatsoever.
Well, let me tell you a little something. He was born in 1972, so he's just a few years older than us.
Okay.
So what, that make him 45 or whatever?
We've accomplished similar amounts.
He was, yeah. I've not heard his podcast, so.
Oh, good point.
Yeah, I got an idea. Dwayne, get going. I don't know. Never mind. Okay, so he was born to a Canadian-born professional wrestler, Rocky Johnson. And while growing up, he traveled around a lot with his parents and watched his father perform in the ring. During high school, Dwayne is playing football, and he receives a full scholarship to the University of Miami. And so now that seems impressive.
Yeah, definitely.
Already at a young age, doing amazing things. And he has a lot of success until, bad news, 1995, Dwayne suffers a back injury.
Ooh.
And it costs him a place in the NFL.
Rough. So he was going to go from Florida to the NFL.
Yeah. Imagine how life would have been different, not just for The Rock,
but for us.
For all of us, had he not gotten that back injury.
Wow.
It's
the Lord works in mysterious ways.
Oh, so good. Yes, that's good theology. So he suffers this back injury. It costs him his place, a place in the NFL, and he signs a 3-year deal with the Canadian Football League. So apparently, the Canadian Football League is not as physically demanding as the NFL. It's what I pick up from this.
I mean, yeah, they're all like, "Oh, I'm sorry, eh? Did I bump you there?"
Oh, so good. So he signs a 3-year deal, but he leaves after a year. How do you do that? You sign a 3-year deal, and then you just say, guys, this is not for me.
I don't know. That doesn't feel like The Rock that I know.
Doesn't seem like it, but he leaves there to pursue a career in wrestling.
Oh.
And this is where things begin to get exciting for Dwayne Johnson. So he makes his wrestling debut in the USWA under the name of Flex Kavanaugh. What if he never changed his name? What if it was still Dwayne Flex Johnson?
Wow, and Kavanaugh is the last name.
Flex Kavanaugh.
Flex Kavanaugh. We don't know a lot about the wide world of wrestling.
We don't.
But I do know they've got some crazy names, and that probably rolled off the tongue of those announcers. Next up in the ring, Flex Kavanaugh.
So he originally chose this stage name, is what I discovered, because he didn't want to seem like he was trading off his family's legacy. Remember, his dad was a wrestler? His dad's name was Rocky Johnson. Okay? And so he didn't want to just be like, oh, I'm just
Rocky Jr.
I'm just Rocky Jr. But then the WWE came up with Rocky Mavia. That's what they called him, Rocky Mavia.
Why not Rocky Kavanaugh? What's the Mavia?
I don't. Mavia. It was like his mom's or his dad's actual name.
Okay.
Last name. They said, look, we're going to call you Rocky Mavia because they felt like Flex Kavanaugh wasn't exactly a great name.
I mean, it's all relevant.
So they're like, you know what? Let's not do that. Let's just go back to Rocky. And I like Flex Kavanaugh better, but whatever. So in 1996, he becomes Rocky Mavia, and he joins this, apparently a wrestling group, Amber, called the Nation of Domination.
Whoa, that's wrestly.
And I think that anybody that has The Rock on their team, they're going to dominate whatever it is, whether it's a spelling bee or a wrestling troupe, which I guess this is what this is, or a
debate team.
A debate team. You're going to win. You're going to dominate because you've got Rocky, The Rock, on it. Anyway, so eventually he takes over the leadership. He becomes the leader of the nation, not surprising, and he takes on the persona of The Rock. So he has been The Rock since 1996.
Sweet.
So what's that, 30 years ago? 96. 2006. 20 years ago? Nobody knows. That's the thing.
22
years ago. And so here's something that I found a quote from The Rock when he was a wrestler. He says, The Rock will take you down Know Your Role Boulevard, which is on the corner of Jabroni Drive, and check you directly into the Smackdown Hotel.
Oh, my goodness.
I would love to hear him say that.
Yeah.
I'm going to take you directly into the Smackdown Hotel. Anyway.
Wow.
Yeah. So
some fierce talking.
He is fierce. In 2000, he took time off. Here we go. This is when things really start turning around.
This is when he comes into our life.
This is when he comes into our life. He takes time from the WWE to film his first appearance in, do you know what movie it is, Amber?
The Mummy Returns.
The Mummy Returns in 2000. It released in 2001. And then he goes back to wrestling, but then in 2002 comes back with a bunch of other wrestlers, apparently, to film the prequel, The Mummy Returns.
The Scorpion King.
Yeah, the prequel, The Scorpion King. That's right.
Was the prequel to the Mummy franchise.
That's right. And so Josh and I, our son Josh, it was, when was that? It was months ago. We actually watched The Scorpion King.
Yeah.
That does not hold up.
Oh, no.
No. Much of the time, The Rock is CGI'd.
Oh.
But in 2000, the CGI is not...
It's not great.
Not quite what we've got today.
I remember thinking he was really cool in The Mummy Returns.
Oh, yeah.
That was my first exposure to him. And they said, I think he's only in there for about 10 minutes, but he was on all the posters and the audience responded really well.
And I said, we need this guy back. And that's the thing about it. It's like you just look at him and you go, I want to be his friend.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think he would be a good friend.
Yeah.
So he's got a daughter was born in 2001 with his ex-wife, Danny Garcia. And here's a question for you, Amber. How do you become the Rock's ex-wife? Like, it seems like everything would be downhill at that point. Nobody can compare. I think
and why would they split up?
Why? Yeah, because he's perfect.
And she probably just couldn't keep up with him.
I think it's at that point that she wrote the song "Nothing Compares to You."
Oh, that was her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I imagine that's the only thing I can figure. So there you go. And then now we know from that point on, he just stars in movies all over the place. He's actually, in 2016, was the highest paid actor in America. Maybe
That's
in the
amazing.
world.
We're talking about up against Brad Pitt and George Clooney and Leonardo DiCaprio and all those
Shia
big
LaBeouf.
names. And Shia LaBeouf.
And the guy who plays the Hulk.
Yeah.
And all the big stars. And so he made, guess how much he made? 2015 to 2016.
$20 million.
$65 million.
Wow. Wow.
So, big time.
Yeah.
Here's just a couple of notes, and then we'll move on, okay, Amber?
Okay.
He attended the Republican National Convention in 2004.
In 2004. Okay.
In 2004. So he's got a long history of politics.
Interesting.
As of 2017, he's made 5 rated R movies. Doom, Southland Tales, never heard of it. Faster, never heard of it. Pain and Gain, did hear of it. Baywatch, also heard of it. They're rated R films he starred in. I've not seen any of those.
I've not either.
And everything else he's done is PG-13 at the most. And I think that's where he shines.
Yeah, he feels he's approachable. A lot of his movies are family-friendly for older kids, at least.
Absolutely. All right, what do you think of this? He was Tim Burton's second choice to play the role of Willy Wonka.
Oh, my word. What?
Instead of Johnny Depp.
How? Oh, my word.
I would have actually watched the movie at that point.
You watched it.
I did not.
You've never seen Johnny Depp as Willy Wonka?
I have not. I've seen pictures of him.
Okay.
Not interested.
I just can't picture, like, can they make a yellow jacket that big or a purple jacket, whatever his jacket? I just can't picture him being surrounded by Oompa Loompas. I think he's got the comedy chops for it.
Oh, he definitely does.
But I don't know if he's weird enough either. Both of the Willy Wonka, he's very weird.
Well, he can make that kind of funny face with his eyes and his eyebrow.
Yeah.
And so that probably would have been a good bit during that
Would
movie.
he have become Tim Burton's darling? Would he have been in all of Tim Burton's movies like Johnny Depp?
Would he have become Edward Scissorhands?
I think it was too late for that, but
I think it wasn't. Because I think at that point, Tim Burton would have said, I've made a huge mistake. Burn every copy of the... I don't know what the name of the guy who played the original Edward Scissorhands, nor do we want to remember. It was Johnny Depp. We don't want to remember that. We don't want to have any proof because the correct persona of Edward Scissorhands was The Rock. And I've made a terrible, terrible mistake.
I can see him with scissor hands, but easier than I can see him as Willy Wonka.
Here's another missed opportunity. Dwayne The Rock Johnson has expressed his desire to play a villain in a James Bond film. His grandfather, Peter Fanine Mavia, appeared as a Bond villain in You Only Live Twice in 1967. Dwayne The Rock Johnson, bad guy.
I'm trying to picture it. It's just he's got this smile that's so warm that just lights up his whole face and lights up his whole room. Like, can a bad guy smile like that? Mm-hmm. I think he'd almost have to be like so evil. Like, what do you call that when you don't have any emotion? A sociopath or something, where he could just, I don't know if his smile is believable as a sociopath.
He's got acting chops.
He does have acting chops.
Spoiler alert, the Scorpion King was a bad guy.
Well.
The Scorpion King was a bad guy. And so he can do it. And the thing is, you're never expecting it. That's what makes him more scary than any of the other.
Okay.
Than Goldfinger, than Octocat. See how I
that's
modified
a good thing.
That one?
We don't want to have to change the rating of this podcast.
And so I think that would have been great. I would have watched that James Bond movie as well. Of course, I watched most of them, but I actually don't really love the new James Bonds. Too violent.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's a whole nother podcast. Make a note of that. First movie experience, he saw Raiders of the Lost Ark when he was 8 years old.
Aw.
He saw it in Charlotte, North Carolina. He walked out of there so inspired. He said, I loved that movie, and I knew I want to be that guy. It's a weird quote, but he saw Harrison Ford in the movies, and he knew that is what I want to do, is be a super action hero. And now look at him.
He could certainly be Indiana Jones.
The new Indiana Jones. They're remaking it.
I can picture him running from a boulder.
He's a little bit bulkier than Harrison.
Well, yeah, but it's all right. He can do the funny and the adventure at the same time.
Could he do the whip thing and swing on the whip? I think he could.
It'd have to be a really thick whip.
Real thick whip. So, anyway, so there you go. Amber, do you have any other questions about Dwayne The Rock Johnson, or have I pretty much covered everything?
When did he drop the rock?
He dropped the rock at some point after taking it in 1996. In 2017, he's now Dwayne The Johnson, so somewhere in that range.
I think the correct answer is when it got too heavy. But the trick is...
I'm going to edit that in. When it got too heavy.
The trick is nothing's too heavy for the rock. So
can the rock create a boulder that's too heavy for him to lift?
So I would have thought that when the Scorpion King came out that we already kind of had a background with him, that we knew him. I looked at his IMDb. He was in a lot of wrestling things, which I would not have known. He was in one episode of Star Trek Voyager, but I don't think that probably made a huge impact. So my love for him was just born in that Mummy Returns, because by the time the Scorpion King came back, I was like, yes, we need more of that guy.
More of that guy. Here's the thing, Amber. You and I, as we have noted in the past, not on this show, but just in general, we're different people than we were when we got married. You know, we're just into different things, and we do different things with our time, and just our attitudes have changed about certain things. So were we into wrestling when we were first married, and we've forgotten about it?
I didn't know where you were going with this. Wow, that would be a pretty big forget.
Did we go to a bunch of WWE live events at Wing Stadium, and we've just kind of like, oh, that was like, it feels like another life.
Wow. I mean, maybe we were hypnotized to forget it.
Yeah.
I do feel like I would make a joke frequently when I was younger of, let's get ready to rumble. So maybe that's just all that's left in my memory of wrestling.
So when you made that joke, did the room just collapse in laughter?
I mean, it depended on the room.
Yeah.
I tried it a lot. Sometimes it landed better than others. It's kind of like when you're getting ready to start something, then you would say that.
Mm-hmm. I like it. I wish you would say it more.
Okay.
Okay. So, Amber, Dwayne has made a ton of movies. And these are just some movies these aren't even out yet. Suicide Squad 2. I didn't know he was in the first one.
He might not have been.
Oh, that's true. Didn't think about that. Hobbs and Shaw. Hobbs and Shaw. Is that a Fast and the Furious thing?
A Fast and the Furious spinoff. I don't think we know Shaw.
Oh, great. Something called Fighting with My Family. Skyscraper.
Oh, Fighting with My Family. I've got something to say about that.
Oh, do you? Oh, great.
It's coming out in September, and it's about a wrestling family.
It is?
Yes. The whole family travels around and wrestles for money or something.
Oh, that's very exciting. So it's a
it's
biopic.
Yeah, yeah, probably.
Oh,
It made me LOL.
that sounds awesome. Skyscraper, which looks like that other movie.
Die Hard.
It looks like Die Hard.
It is the tallest skyscraper in the world, and I think he only has one actual leg.
So it's not Die Hard at all.
I mean, the Die Hard, Bruce Willis walked on glass with bare feet at the beginning, which was probably almost as handicapping as having only one leg.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Dwayne Johnson has a good prosthetic leg in this one. So
Interesting. A movie I'm really excited about, Rampage.
Oh, yeah, that looks awesome.
Yeah,
This is right up our alley.
Yeah, and so they've taken the classic 80s video game Rampage, which had no plot, and they've turned it into a movie.
Which maybe doesn't have a plot.
But we will watch it, and we will love it, and it's going to be great.
The wolf can fly, of course, again. Something like that's my movie quote from that preview.
It's going to be so good. He's also rumored, this is a rumor. You heard it here first. He's rumored to be what is it called when they remake a movie? They're remaking Big Trouble in Little China.
Really?
Which was a great movie with Patrick Swayze. I think that'd be great.
Yeah.
If he was in that. I would give him more opportunity to be that action star that he's been dreaming about.
Oh, yeah, he's there.
There's a movie called Doc Savage coming out. And I looked that up. Doc Savage is a 1930s pulp action hero. So kind of Indiana Jones-esque.
Yeah,
kind of
definitely.
that pulp action. So that's exciting. So those are a bunch of the movies that he has upcoming. What are some of the movies that he's already done that we loved, Amber?
Yeah, well, I thought I've seen just about everything. Anytime we go to the movies and we see a preview with The Rock, we're like, oh, yeah, we're going to see that.
We're in.
But there's a lot that I haven't seen. So I went through IMDb and I wrote down the ones I know for sure I've seen. So I've seen The Mummy Returns and The Scorpion King. I've seen Race to Witch Mountain.
I don't remember seeing that one.
It has PETA from The Hunger Games.
Oh,
It's
really?
the kid in it.
Okay.
The Tooth Fairy. That was great.
Okay, let's talk about the Tooth Fairy a little bit. Because some people might say, well, that's just a kid's movie.
And they'd be wrong.
They'd be so wrong. What I like about the Tooth Fairy is that it shows just the cuddliness and the fact that Dwayne is in on the joke. Right?
Oh, exactly.
That is what we like. He's in on the joke of who The Rock is.
Yeah. And I think that's when if you hadn't fallen in love with them yet, you're going to fall in love with them. Yeah.
That had to be around the same time as there was a movie, I can't remember the name of it, Amber, where he played, he was a hockey player, and it was also a kind of a kid's movie, and The Game Plan. It was called The Game Plan, and it was again kind of this, maybe not kids movie, but a family movie, and it was just like, he was just kind of lovable and funny, and he's just great, and it's that persona that I like so much. If he thought he was the greatest thing since sliced bread, it would just dispel his magic.
You're right. He has to be able to laugh at himself, and then that smile, that's just so charismatic.
Yeah.
The Tooth Fairy was 2010. I don't have Game Plan written down, although when you said hockey, maybe I have seen it. He had a really bit part in this movie called You Again that I've seen. He was just an air marshal, but he was uncredited, so that's not really. Journey to Mysterious Island.
Journey 2, yes, I loved that
Journey
movie.
2. Yes,
and so another
Mysterious
one of
Island.
these kind of family-friendly action movies, kind of a journey to the center of the earth thing. Yeah, I don't know. I just enjoy it.
Those are great. I think they're great. G.I. Joe.
Those are the kind of movies, the movies that The Rock makes aren't the kind of movies that win Oscars.
No, but that's not necessarily what we're looking for when it comes to entertainment.
How does the Hollywood elite celebrate movies that aren't Oscar movies?
Well, you have the Nickelodeon Kids' Choice Awards, and you have the MTV Movie Awards,
Okay.
and then you just have box office profits.
Gotcha. So a couple weeks ago, we watched the Oscars.
Yeah.
And I had seen 0 of the movies that were in the Oscars, except Star Wars was up for video effects or music or something, and I've seen that. But everything else, I was like, don't care. And yeah, that's not what I go to movies for. But The Rock, that is what I go to movies for.
And so does most of America. There's a reason why the movies do as well as they do.
Yeah, next year,
people want to see.
I say we don't watch the Oscars and we do watch the Nickelodeon Kids' Choice Awards.
Okay.
And we live tweet it.
Oh.
For our fans.
Segments live tweet. Get ready to get slimed.
Kids' Choice Awards. Oh. Okay. Carry on, Amber.
He's in a G.I. Joe. I've only seen one of the G.I. Joe. I think he was in the first one.
He played Roadblock.
All
it
right.
was awesome.
He's perfect Roadblock.
Well, there wasn't a great movie. It wasn't a great adaptation of G.I. Joe. They really could do well with that. But
well, why not?
Yeah.
Why not do well?
They I don't think anybody told him that.
Oh.
Somebody should have said, hey, guys, this movie's not very good. What would you think about making it good?
Yeah, what if we made it good?
And they're like, well, I would never kind of thought about that. Let's try that. And but whatever. So it's not a great movie, but it is. It has The Rock, and so 4 stars.
Yeah. So yeah, San Andreas. I think we've talked about that before. That might have even come up in our action blockbuster movies discussion
San
that we had.
Andreas was phenomenal.
Yeah.
It was absolutely goofy and just one of those popcorn action blockbusters. But
Yep.
I just loved it. Great movie.
Yeah, very, very good. Moana. I've seen Moana. He just does the voice in that one.
I
but
really want to see that.
He's very good. Central Intelligence.
Loved
Kevin
Central
Hart.
Intelligence. That was so
very
good. Yeah.
And then Jumanji. Which
Jumanji
hit it out of the park.
It hit it out of the park, and that came out in 2017, right?
Yeah.
So I've been thinking about this, Amber, since we decided to do The Rock, and was looking at his movies. I think that Jumanji was my favorite movie of 2017.
What?
And there's some big movies came out in 2017.
Like a Star Wars.
A Star Wars came out. Thor Ragnarok came out.
Wow.
Lots of things came
You
out.
really enjoyed Murder on the Orient Express.
I really enjoyed Murder on the Orient Express. Yeah, I enjoyed a lot of movies, but when I left Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle, it's a movie, I guess I did this with Star Wars too, but it just scratches a different itch. I was like, I just want to go back in there and watch it again. And then I saw that it's going to be released on DVD, and I'm like, I need to get that movie. And I don't buy movies.
No, you don't.
So, anyway, yeah.
Yeah, we really enjoyed that.
Yeah, that's my pick. Best movie 2017.
Fantastic.
Fact.
Fact.
Objective
Fact.
fact. Objective fact. Segment 2. The Rockin' Quiz. So, Amber, I called it a Rockin' Quiz because of The Rock. It's about The Rock. You get it? The Rock.
Oh.
Okay. So in one of our very, very first episodes, maybe our first episode, we had a great game. I think it was the Thesaurus quiz.
Okay, yes.
And we've kind of been chasing just the success of that ever since.
That one got a lot of positive feedback.
That's one of the quizzes that got a lot of positive feedback. And I'm not sure this is it. But this is definitely one of the quizzes we've done. Well, not yet, but it will be shortly.
So we started a tradition not too long ago of playing for a listener.
Oh, that's right. Who are we going to play for tonight, Amber?
Today we are playing for Callie Fielding.
Oh,
woo, woo.
Thank you so much for leaving feedback. What we do is we take people who've left feedback to the prior episode, and we draw their name, and you have a chance to win a Segments sticker.
Yeah, and the cool thing about Callie is she recently caught up on our podcast, and she went and left feedback on all of our old posts on the appropriate podcast. So we knew where she was at, and she put in her thoughts, even though it was after the fact, and I loved it.
Yeah.
It blessed us every time. So she definitely got her entries in there a lot this time. Our past winners, Bobby Joe and Tori, we ordered the stickers in February. And then just this past Monday, I said to Mark, I don't think those stickers ever came.
Never came.
So I went and looked up the tracking, and it said they left the facility to be delivered on like February 23rd or something like that in Grand Rapids. So I promptly emailed TeePublic where we get them from, and I showed them a screenshot of the tracking and my order number, and they emailed back, just probably a automatic email that said, hey, here's a picture of what the envelope looks like. Why don't you look for it again? I was like, that's Crazy? Come on. I'm an adult. Well, it was on our kitchen counter right behind the coffee pot, kind of mixed in with some junk mail, and it had probably been there for several weeks. So we're getting those segment stickers out to our previous winners, and Callie will be able to get hers promptly if we win on her behalf. If
Amber is able to accomplish 50% or better on this quiz. That's the goal. Is that what we said? 50%?
I don't know.
That seems low. I think that's what we've done. Well, we'll do that this time. This is a quiz. It's called the Rockin' Quiz, and I'm going to read you a quote from a movie. And I want you, Amber, to tell me, is this something that The Rock has said, or is it a quote from the movie The Rock with Sean Connery and the other guy?
This is reminiscent of Gutenberg or Gutenberg.
It's similar to that.
The Rock or The Rock.
And you remember how Gutenberg versus Gutenberg was like a really funny idea? And
it's my brother Aaron's favorite bit we've ever done.
Really?
Yes.
Well, maybe this will be his new favorite. Okay, so I'm gonna read you a quote, and you tell me if it's a Rock quote or a quote from The Rock.
Okay.
If you wear a dress and you have an animal sidekick, you're a princess. If you wear a dress and you have an animal sidekick, you're a princess.
So I've done a lot of research about The Rock the last few days here, but I haven't really thought at all about the movie The Rock, which I have seen once or twice. I think it has Sean Connery and Nicolas Cage.
Nick Cage.
I'm going to say this one is The Rock. Not the person, Dwayne Johnson.
That you are correct, Amber. I just
can't imagine them talking about princesses or animal sidekicks in the movie The Rock about Alcatraz.
You want to know what movie that's from?
Yes.
Moana.
Ooh.
He plays Maui, like a demigod or something in that. So
he's just trying to help the Disney brand. Yes, Moana's going to be a princess. We have to put her in there.
Exactly. Female. So what now? Male. Rescue helicopter flies overhead. An American flag unfurls. Now we rebuild.
I feel like if I had to just guess a movie, I would say Sharknado. But if we're playing this game, I would say this is Dwayne The Rock Johnson, and maybe even in San Andreas.
Yes.
Yeah.
So good. I just loved that. I was looking up quotes, and it said, rescue helicopters fly overhead. An American flag unfurls.
He's literally saying those words?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I love it so much.
No. I'm sorry. He's
that
not
is
saying
what's
those.
happening. Okay.
That's what's happening, and then he says, now we rebuild. But I just remember that scene.
Oh, yeah.
And you just kind of wanted like a bald eagle to fly.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, that reminds me, though. We didn't mention that we watched Fast Five last night as part of our Rock research. We said we need to watch one more Rock movie before we do this podcast, and we saw how he's been in multiple Fast and the Furious movies. We've never seen any.
Never seen any.
So we called texted our resident experts. No, I don't know. We texted the Adam and Tara Shockley fam to see what they thought, and they said go ahead and start with 5 because that's the first time that Hobbs, who is The Rock, was in it. But yeah, he has like everything he says is like a quotable quote. It's so funny.
And you see him falling through those buildings and doing all these action sequences, and you're like, careful your back. I know.
See, I'm nervous now.
Yeah,
I didn't even know.
I think his cousin or something does a lot of his stunts. Looks like him, but
are you serious? Serious, Clark?
I'm serious.
Huh.
Yeah. 3 tours in Vietnam, Panama, Grenada, Desert Storm, 3 Purple Hearts, 2 Silver Stars, and the Congressional Medal of Jesus. This man is a hero.
Something about that feels Nicolas Cagey. I'm going to say this one is from The Rock, the movie.
You are correct.
Woo!
It is from The Rock. This is very difficult to trick you.
I'm just so good.
No, you are so good. Strength is my weakness.
Ooh, that's from Jumanji. I love it so much. Strength is my weakness?
That's so good.
It's better than bees.
If the rocket renders it aerosol, it could take out the entire city of people.
Say that again?
If the rocket renders it aerosol, it could take out the entire city of people.
What if the rocket renders it aerosol? I don't think there was any rockets in The Rock, so I'm going to say this is Dwayne Johnson.
Oh, no, Amber, it is from The Rock.
Okay.
It is from The Rock. They, well, I can't spoil it. I can't tell you what it's about.
All right.
Okay. This is another two-parter. I can't use the real names. That would give it away.
Okay.
Man number 1. I'm sure all this will make a great bedtime story to tell your kid. Man number 2. You're insane. The kid'll have nightmares. I'll spend all my money on shrinks. You're insane. The kid'll have nightmares. I'll spend all my money on shrinks.
Ugh, boy, I'm going to also say the movie The Rock for this one.
You're so good. Guys, after finding the drugs, helping save Chen, and helping me blow up the bad girl with a Roman candle, it's a pleasure to say you are officially no longer trainees.
That could be like a Fast and the Furious quote. I'm going to say Dwayne Johnson.
You are correct, but it's from Baywatch.
Oh, yeah, that also makes sense.
Okay. Does this tutu make my butt look big?
That's got to be the Tooth Fairy. Dwayne Johnson.
That's a good game, Mark.
Remember when Sean Connery had that tutu on in The Rock, though? I could have thought it was him.
So here's the thing. This is one of those things. It was like, it's a pretty funny idea.
Yeah.
But there's not a lot of similarities between the two things that's tricky.
Or funny.
Or funny. There's
you
not
could
a lot.
just have him say, like, hey, where's the bathroom? And I wouldn't know which one that was from. But
here we go. I love pressure. I eat it for breakfast.
Ooh. I also hear, I feel Nicolas Cage. I'm going to say the movie. Ooh.
Okay. All right. Are you ready for the last one, Amber? You're pretty much batting 1,000 here.
I missed one.
You're not quite batting 1,000. Being the hero of your own story isn't about stopping bad guys or climbing mountains. It's about overcoming bullies in your life, whatever or whomever they may be. It's about putting it all out there for everyone to see, and it's realizing that in life, the most important thing that you can be is yourself.
That kind of charisma comes from Dwayne Johnson.
You're so good.
From his heart.
From Central Intelligence, but I imagine that wasn't in the script. It just came straight from his heart.
I think so.
All right. Well, Amber, that quiz happened, and now it's done, and you have won yourself and Callie a sticker.
Woohoo!
And when I say yourself, I don't mean that. Just Callie. You just got Callie.
Okay.
Segment 3. What would you do? The Rock Edition.
A Rock Edition. As you may or may not know, there's been some things in the news about maybe Dwayne The Rock Johnson having some political leanings.
Well, he was at the 2004 Republican National Convention, if I remember correctly.
Yes, and that, I believe, according to my research, he was a registered Republican at one point. He is now registered independent.
Okay.
And last year, he showed up at both the Clinton and the Trump conventions.
Really? We all get a little bit more moderate in our older age.
Yeah, he's mostly encouraging people to vote.
Good job.
At this point.
He's a hero. He's the hero we all need.
Back in 2016,
okay,
before we had our presidential election, there was a British GQ article about The Rock where he said he might consider a different career. He said, "To be honest, I haven't ruled politics out. I'm not being coy when I say that, but at the moment, I'm not sure. I can't deny that the thought of being governor, the thought of being president is alluring." So he mentioned that. At that point in this article, they said he was still a registered Republican. Trump had not been elected. This article suggested that perhaps if he hurried up and got on the ballot, he might actually give Trump a run for his money.
I would imagine he would have.
Some of the things they said were in The Rock's favor is that he's from Florida, which is an important swing state in the presidential election. He played football there, so that would be a popularity thing. He's one of the most consistently likable celebrities in America, which was measured by the Q Scores company. He's descended from James Bowles, who was a free black man who fought with the British during the Revolutionary War.
He what? What was that?
He's descended from James Bowles.
Oh, he's descended.
Yeah.
I thought you said he was friends with. I was like, wow.
It was one of his time-traveling movies.
It's impressive.
So his mother's side of the family is Samoan, so his dad's side of the family is from some Black Americans that fought during the Revolutionary War, so he's got a lot of different people that would be on his side. He doesn't have any kind of a voting record because he hasn't been in politics before, so nobody can call him a flip-flopper.
Nice.
They had said here he has until June 24th, 2016 to get on the primary ballot in Florida.
Wow.
To try to get on the Senate seat because they thought maybe that'd be a good first step for him. He did not do that. But because this article was written in the Washington Post, a year later, The Rock was interviewed by GQ magazine. You can read the whole 21-page article right on the internet. We can add a link if you want to. It's kind of interesting. He said that he read the Washington Post article by Alyssa Rosenberg in 2016, and it actually made him seriously consider running for office. He said there was a real sense of earnestness which made me go home and think, let me really rethink my answer and make sure I'm giving an answer that's truthful and also respectful. So he'd been considering it for a year. He didn't hesitate when the writer for GQ asked him whether he would consider running for politics. He said, I think it's a real possibility.
Wow. So this 21-page article, it was about The Rock?
Yeah.
But it wasn't an interview. It was just about the idea of him.
No, she spent multiple days with him.
Oh, and talking to him about
lots of things. And then they also mentioned
interesting
the presidency. And so she starts her article saying, no one gets up earlier than Dwayne Johnson, or goes to bed later, or is more awake during the hours in between. No one in Hollywood is more buff, more driven, or gets paid better. The man has so much charisma and ambition, he can do anything. Comedy, action, pretty little cartoon voices. Some people even say he could be president. Katie Weaver spends a few days with the ex-wrestler pumping iron and pounding water, gotta stay hydrated, and figuring out if The Rock is meant for higher office. When Dwayne Johnson meets you, and I can assure you he would love to, the first thing he will do is ask you 6,000 questions about yourself and remember your answers forever.
Wow.
If you are a child, good luck getting past Dwayne Johnson without a high five or some simulated roughhousing. If you're in a wheelchair, prepare for a Beowulf.
Beowulf.
Beowulf. How do you say it?
Beowulf? Wow.
Prepare for a Beowulf-style epic poem about your deeds and bravery, composed extemporaneously, delivered to Johnson's Instagram audience of 85 million people.
Wow.
If you're dead, having shuffed off your moral coil before you even got the chance to meet Dwayne Johnson, that sucks. Rest in peace knowing that Dwayne Johnson genuinely misses you. For Johnson, there are no strangers. There are simply best friends and best friends he hasn't met yet.
Wow.
I've known the man for only 2 hours, and I've been in his car now for only a few minutes, listening to the Dixie Chicks, headed to what he's luxuriously described to me as his private gym, and already it's apparent that I am Dwayne Johnson's greatest friend in the entire world.
Wow.
So I think he's a really nice guy.
I just love that.
I like the fact that he remembers details about people.
Mm-hmm. Man, I
think
wish
that
I
really
could do that.
aids to his popularity. Oh, my word. Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah. That's very, very interesting. It reminds me, we have a friend, Seth, who lives in California now, but he has that same kind of ability that I've always been a little bit jealous of, that anytime he spends time with anybody, you think that, wow, he likes me better than all people. And so Dwayne kind of has that same thing.
Yep. I think our friend Joanna Kelly's like that, too.
Yes,
it's charisma.
absolutely.
I think it's charisma. And I don't know how you get that. I'd like to buy some.
I'd like some charisma. Awesome. Well, I love that, and it makes me like him better. And, you know, I don't have an Instagram. I mean, Segments obviously does. We're big on the Instagram. But I don't personally have an Instagram. I don't look at it. But knowing that The Rock's got one makes me think I would like to see what he's taking pictures of.
85 million people apparently do want to see it. I don't currently follow him, but...
Well, it's about time you started, Amber.
Yep. We're not going to get into it here because we've already done a lot of reading, but you could go to DwayneJohnsonForPresident.com and you can read all about why he would make a great president. This is not a website created by Dwayne Johnson. This is a website created by some serious fans.
That's great. And so we're not a political podcast. We're not here to say who you should or should not vote for, but you would... If he was on the ballot, you'd have
it
to
does
vote
feel
for him.
like after this past election, anybody's on the table.
Anybody's on the table.
Anybody can run.
Yep. Yeah.
Who knows? So reading these things, thinking about Dwayne The Rock Johnson being our president, President The Rock, it made me think, what would The Rock do in some of these situations, these presidential type situations that were rolling around in my head? So I'm going to pose them to you and have you come up with an answer.
So I am going to kind of inhabit the persona of Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
Yes.
Okay, and solve these problems. Okay.
All right. So, scenario number 1.
Okay.
Immigration. How would The Rock handle immigration? I'm kidding.
Woo! Goodness. Huh. All right. Well, good.
All right.
I mean, I had a super good answer
My
for it,
scenarios are a little bit more fantastical and something I would actually like to see made into a movie.
but okay.
All right, scenario number 1 for real. America wakes up to alarming news that a spacecraft has landed in the desert outside of Los Angeles. It is not recognizable and is not being claimed as part of any existing organization on Earth. The spacecraft landed carefully, and at this time it is believed that nothing has exited or entered the craft. What would President The Rock do?
It's a really good question. Well, the first thing that we know is he's not going to send somebody else.
Oh, you're right. I think he's going to handle this personally.
He's not going to be like, oh, send some army guys out there or send the Secretary of Alien Division out there. He's going to go, and he's probably going to drive, what are those big trucks? We saw one yesterday.
The real big Hummer?
The big Hummer.
Yeah.
He's going to get in the presidential Hummer, and he's going to go out there himself, probably put on some fatigues just because that's...
Some sunglasses.
Some sunglasses, and he's going to go out there, and he's going to investigate himself. And he's going to ring the doorbell or knock on the door, whatever they have. He'll be able to figure it out.
Oh, yeah.
As there's one thing we learned from him in Fast Five,
Yeah.
It was that he has an incredible ability to deduce things from very little bits of information. So he's going to quickly deduce how to get the aliens to come to the door, and they're going to open the door, and they're going to be a little bit like, we weren't ready to talk yet, but he's going to cock his head a little bit,
Yeah.
give him that smile,
Aww.
and probably tell him some jokes, make them feel good about themselves, and
Do a little of that playful roughhousing he does with the
playful
kids.
roughhousing. And then they'll probably go get something to eat, and it'll probably be real healthy, and they're going to be real impressed, and they're going to think, oh, this is a good world. Let's not destroy it.
Okay, I like it. I'd vote for that.
Okay.
All right, scenario.
That was correct?
Well, it's not really a correct or incorrect, but it
Okay.
feels right.
It feels right.
It feels
It
like
feels
The Rock.
right.
It's
Okay.
on brand.
Okay.
Scenario number 2. Scientists have been monitoring an asteroid that seems to be headed for Earth for several weeks. Today, they announced that if it continues on its current trajectory, the asteroid will collide with Earth, causing catastrophic damage to the Northern Hemisphere in 6 days. What would President The Rock do?
Well, the first thing we know for sure is that he's going to handle this himself. He is not...
He'd be very busy as a president.
Exactly. He's not going to send the Secretary of Asteroid Protection to deal with this. He's probably going to get out of his suit. He's probably going to put on some sort of an astronaut suit. He's going to call some of his friends. I imagine Bruce Willis, who is a demolitions expert.
Has experience dealing with asteroids.
Exactly. He's probably in the cabinet. I imagine.
Yeah.
So he's working there. He's probably going to call Shia LaBeouf because Shia LaBeouf has a lot of... I mean, it's not that he's got a lot of skills, but you just kind of feel more comfortable when he's there.
Yeah, I bet he just hangs around the White House all the time. Shia does.
Yeah, he's just there giving some advice, making some goofs. and he's going to get a crew of people, probably a couple of ex-cons. Just because.
Yeah, he'd know them from the wrestling world, maybe.
He knows them from the wrestling world, and he's going to kind of disarm them a little bit with his charm, and they're going to convert from a life of crime to a life of helping the world with this problem. So he's got a team of people now. He's going to get in the spaceship. I imagine that he's already sunk a ton of money into NASA town.
I feel like he would value the space program.
Absolutely. He wants to see what else is out there. I don't know what that means.
So he can be friends with it.
He's made friends with the whole world. He's looking for more. And so he's gonna go up there himself, and I guess he's just gonna start punching the asteroid and making a hole that Bruce Willis can then put a stick of dynamite in. They'll blow it up. That's my guess.
I can see that.
I don't know. That's not. Yeah, that's the best I got.
I would watch that.
He's gonna go. He's going to go up with Bruce Willis and Shia LaBeouf and destroy the asteroid. You just have to.
Yeah, I really like that he's taking care of it himself. He's not delegating.
He has to.
Nobody else would do it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
But he does it in such a not braggy way.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You're just like, I love that guy.
Yeah, exactly.
and if he asks you, hey, will you go to the asteroid with me? Absolutely. I would literally go anywhere with you.
Oh, good.
So.
All right. Well, I have one more scenario for us. It's another kind of post-apocalyptic thing. You know, when you think about, like, what does a real president deal with, it's not as funny for podcast material.
It's not as funny. Yeah.
How do you think he would vote if the...
Yeah.
Anyway. So here's your scenario number 3.
Okay.
A strange illness seems to be sweeping the West Coast. Victims are infected and quickly become disoriented and violent. Difficult to quarantine, they move about the cities, biting or scratching people they encounter, leading to more infections. Hospitals have shut down after mass infections of all patients and staff. What does President The Rock do?
What does President The Rock do?
It's all on the West Coast at the moment.
It's all on the West Coast. Well, you know what he's not going to do? He's not going to build a wall that separates the West from the East.
He doesn't feel like a wall builder.
No, he's a bridge builder.
Ooh.
And so he is going to take the bull by the horns. And he's going to say, you know what, guys, I'm going out there to the West Coast. And Shia and Bruce are going to be like, Dwayne, I'm not sure that is such a good idea. What if you are infected? And Dwayne The Rock Johnson is, not only is he charismatic, not only is he a fantastic actor and a great president and a wonderful friend, but he's also, he's very smart. And so he realizes if he contracted this illness, it would be the end of the world. He'd be the world's strongest zombie.
Ooh, yeah, that'd be dangerous.
And what do? If The Rock turns into a zombie, you might as well go get on that asteroid.
Yeah, exactly.
And so he would deal with this one from a distance just for the safety of the world's sake. So what we've learned here is that he will have a solution for every problem. Amber, I'm going to shoot straight with you. Some of these situations seemed a little far-fetched.
I mean, what we want to know is what would he do in the worst of the situations.
These are the worst of the situations.
So if we know he could make it through that, then we know that he could vote for welfare reform.
Yeah, he's gonna deal with the gun control accurately.
Yeah.
I won't say which way that is, but we know he'll do it right.
That's right.
Yeah. So, Amber, thank you so much. Did I do good?
Oh, you were so good, and you convinced me that if he's on the ballot, I'm going to give him some serious consideration.
Absolutely, Dwayne The Rock Johnson for president.
President The Rock. I thought it was so hilarious when I said The Rock Obama, but apparently that was a Saturday Night Live sketch.
Oh, really?
So I might have just picked that up in my brain somewhere.
Well, thank you guys so much for joining us for episode 19 of Segments. Next episode is going to be episode 20.
Wow, that seems like a big one.
Impressive. And we've already talked about The Rock. I'm not sure if there's anywhere to go at this point, but we're going to really try and come up with something. We'll figure it out. And if you want to, we would encourage you to get some Segments merch. You can go to TeePublic and search Segments and get a t-shirt or a coffee mug or a sticker, or you can leave feedback and try to win a sticker.
Yeah, and if you are not aware, we are also doing a side podcast for the next few weeks here. It's called Segments Has Spoken, and it is a Survivor fan cast for the TV show Survivor on CBS.
And we are on episode 4 of Survivor. It is an absolutely fantastic season. Ghost Island, a lot of exciting things are happening out there. So we'd love for you to join us on that little venture and let us know what you're thinking about Survivor.
Definitely. So you can leave us feedback on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram at SegmentsCast.
Yep, or send us an email at segmentscast@gmail.com. We would love for you to subscribe to Segments either on iTunes or your favorite podcast player. You can find us anywhere that you find podcasts.
Yeah. A couple questions I have for you listeners is, what is your favorite The Rock movie? And also, what are some ideas for segments, topics we could cover in the future?
That would be great.
Do you want us to do Shia next, or do you have some ideas of some things we could do before we get to Shia LaBeouf?
Yeah.
I'm picturing Shia and The Rock running for president. It would be like a Johnson LaBeouf.
Johnson LaBeouf. I like that.
Johnson LaBeouf 2021.
Yeah, man. I would put that sticker on my...
No, 2020.
2020.
2020. Johnson LaBeouf.
It's going to be a big year. And thank you so much for joining us. It has been such a fun time.
Sorry we're a little late coming out this month. Our goal is still the 15th and the 30th, but sometimes stuff happens.
We've started this other podcast, and so yeah,
it does take some of our time.
Yeah, there's been a lot happening this week, but we're committed. We're going to get it out there, so don't you worry.